I was in my study late at night, in the middle of a video conference with executives from our overseas subsidiaries. My 7-year-old niece walked in, clutching her doll, and gently asked if I could go to her parent-teacher conference the next day. My brother and his wife passed away in a car accident when my niece was 5. Seeing the hopeful look in her eyes, I agreed immediately without a second thought. The next morning, I drove my niece to her prestigious private school, the Crestwood Academy. I had just pulled into a spot in the school's outdoor parking lot when a woman came up and started banging on my window. "Are you blind? I saw this spot first. What gives you the right to steal it?" I froze for a second, glancing back at the red sports car parked behind me. She had clearly pulled into the lot after me. Just because she couldn't find a spot, how could she accuse me of stealing hers? I replied patiently, "It's a public parking lot. First come, first served." But she wasn't having it. She went back to her car, pulled out a baseball bat, and smashed my windshield. "If I want it, it's mine. Let me tell you something. My husband is on the board of this school. Piss me off, and I'll have him kick you and your pathetic little daughter out of here." I was stunned for a moment, then immediately dialed Ethan Vance's number. "I hear you have another wife, Ethan. If that's the case, let's consider our engagement officially over." My engagement to Ethan Vance had been arranged at his father's request. Years ago, my grandfather owed the Vance family a favor, and Ethan's father used it as leverage to arrange my marriage to his son. My grandfather is a man of his word, so he agreed to the arrangement. Otherwise, with the Vance families standing in New York City, they could never dream of marrying into the Henderson family. Repaying a debt is one thing, but if Ethan Vance was already married or involved with another woman, then his family was trying to trick me into a fraudulent marriage. And I, Sonny Henderson, would not stand for being made a fool. I called him to give him a chance to explain himself. After all, I knew there were two sides to every story. "I'm busy," he snapped. "I don't have time for your games. Stop making a big deal out of every little rumor." Ethan's voice was dripping with impatience. "I'm your fiancé. I have a right to know the truth. Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" I was saying. Before I could finish my sentence, he hung up on me. I stood there stunned. Wow, what a temper. It seemed he wasn't happy about this engagement either. Meanwhile, the woman who had smashed my car, Candy Miller, stood there holding the baseball bat, a smug look on her face as she watched the show. "Oh, what's wrong? Your fiancé won't stick up for you," she taunted. "Now move your car. I'll do a lot more damage than just the windshield." My usual car was in the shop for maintenance, so today I was driving a standard Mercedes sedan. It was nothing compared to her sports car, so she clearly assumed I was beneath her and not worth her respect. "Have you lost your mind?" I shot back. "You vandalized my car, and now you're threatening me. Believe me, I'm calling the police." With that, I pulled out my phone to dial 911. Candy lunged at me, trying to grab my phone. "You bitch, you dare call the cops? Go ahead. My husband has more than enough money to make any problem disappear." During the struggle, my niece Lily got frightened. She covered her head and started crying in terror. I immediately let go of the phone to comfort her. Just then, a chubby little boy got out Candy's red sports car. With his backpack on, he ran up to his mother, pointed at Lily behind me, and snickered. "Mom, that's the crybaby from my class," he announced. "I heard she doesn't have a mom or dad. She's an orphan. It was her birthday, and she just had to make her parents come home for it. They got in a car, crashed and died," he continued cruelly. "She's a total loser. I've pulled her hair and thrown her books in the trash, and she's too scared to even tell the teacher." As he spoke, he ran forward and kicked my niece. "Crybaby, you dare try to take my mom's parking spot? I'll kill you." The kick was completely unexpected. It caught Lily in the chest, sending her stumbling backward onto the pavement. Her hands were scraped and bleeding from the rough asphalt. A surge of fury went through me, and I stood up and shoved the boy back. "Who raised you, you little monster? Have you no manners at all?" The boy fell on his backside from my push and immediately burst into loud, theatrical tears. Candy was horrified. She scooped up her son and glared at me with pure hatred. "You bitch! How dare you push my son? You must have a death wish." Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a security guard jogging toward us. She pointed at me and commanded him, "Grab her! Hold her down!" The guard obviously recognized Candy and knew who she was. At her command, he moved forward, grabbed my shoulders, and yanked my head back by my hair. A sharp pain shot through my scalp, forcing my head up. My phone clattered to the ground nearby. Candy got to her feet and strode toward me on heels that were at least 4 inches high. Her brightly made-up face wore a mocking smile. She raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face twice. "That's for trying to take my spot, you bitch," she hissed. "And that's for pushing my son. You should have found out who you were messing with. I can make sure you, in that little charity case, don't walk out of this school alive." Just then, another car pulled up, and to my surprise, Lily's teacher, Ms. Peterson, got out. She was a woman in her late 30s, wearing a simple dress, and she rushed straight over to Candy. "Ms. Miller, are you all right?" "Leo, sweetie, who pushed you down?" she asked, completely ignoring the state Lily and I were in. Candy crossed her arms, looking smug. "This bitch tried to steal my parking spot," she said haughtily. "I just taught her a little lesson." Ms. Peterson immediately sided with her, her face stern. "Lily's aunt, I have to say, how could you do something so tasteless? You need to be a better role model for Lily instead of causing trouble," she lectured. "Now, apologize to Ms. Miller. Let her calm down and move your car. Then we can all forget this happened." Through her tears, Lily tried to explain. "That's not what happened. That lady couldn't find a spot, so she smashed my aunt's car." Ms. Peterson's brow furrowed. "Lily, lying is not a good habit," the teacher said coolly. "I don't like children who lie." My niece froze, her eyes welling up with tears of disbelief and hurt. This is how a teacher behaves? Accusing a child of lying without even asking what happened? There are better ways to kiss up to someone. I was furious. Ignoring the stinging pain in my cheeks, I yelled at Ms. Peterson, "My niece is not lying. You're the one who's biased, sucking up to the rich and bullying everyone else. You want an apology from me? In your dreams." With that, I spat on the ground in front of them. Ms. Peterson's expression shifted, and she adopted a very serious tone. "Lily's aunt, I'm only asking you to apologize for your own good. Do you have any idea who Ms. Miller is? The truth would shock you," she said ominously. "Young Leo is Mr. Vance's son. And do you know which Mr. Vance I mean? The one who is about to merge with the Henderson Dynamics Corporation," she added. "Soon enough, the entire city of New York will belong to the Vance Group." Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. "After all that build-up, I thought this Ms. Miller was someone important," I said. "Turns out she's just Ethan Vance's mistress, a secret he keeps hidden away. And since Ethan is marrying someone else, doesn't that mean you'll never be anything more?" Ms. Peterson had meant to flatter Candy, but instead she had just announced her status as a mistress to the world. The teacher immediately fell silent, glancing nervously at Candy, terrified she had misspoken. Candy's face had turned thunderous. "You bitch! How dare you talk to me like that? You're asking for it!" she shrieked, slapping me twice more across the face. "Even as a mistress, I'm 1,000 times better than you. Besides, I have a son," she sneered. "My son will inherit the family fortune one day. My position is secure because of him, which makes me infinitely better than some broke loser like you. And who's to say the precious Henderson Dynamics heiress will even outlive me? What if she has an accident after the wedding? Who says I won't get my chance to be the official Mrs. Vance?" The thought was truly venomous. Her son was the same age as my niece and attended a prestigious school owned by the Vance Group. I couldn't believe Ethan's father was completely in the dark about this. So this was his real reason for pushing the marriage. It was a classic scheme to absorb my family's entire fortune. Thank God I came to this parent-teacher conference today. The alternative was terrifying to even consider. Ms. Peterson chimed in again. "Lily's aunt, Lily is watching. She's a sensitive child. You shouldn't frighten her like this. Just apologize nicely." Candy pressed her advantage. An apology isn't going to cut it anymore. She wasted my valuable time. She's going to have to pay me. I had never met anyone so utterly shameless. I gave a cold laugh. "How much do you want?" Candy, thinking I was finally intimidated by who she was, triumphantly held up 5 fingers. "At least $500,000, she declared. "Pay me $500,000, or you're not walking out of this school today." She shot a look at the security guard. The guard's grip on my shoulders tightened. I could practically hear my bones groaning under the pressure, and I sucked in a sharp breath against the pain. "Fine," I said, gritting my teeth against the pain. "Let me go, and I'll transfer you the money." A flicker of triumph flashed in Candy's eyes. That's more like it. It's always wise to know your place, she gloated. When your family eventually goes bankrupt, you can bring your little beggar to my door, and maybe I'll spare you some change. Don't look down on mistresses. In this day and age, people look down on being poor, not on being immoral, she said. A loser like you has no room to pretend you have principles. She signaled the guard, and he finally released me. Once I was free, I stretched my aching arms. Then, with my face already swelling from her slaps, I bent down and picked up my phone. I unlocked it, opened iMessage, and sent a quick text. Then I looked up at Candy. How much was it you wanted again? She held up 5 fingers again. This much. I nodded gravely and typed in my passcode. A moment later, a notification popped up on Candy's phone. Bank deposit received. $5 million. She froze, her eyes widening in greed. Why did you send me so much? I feigned confusion. Isn't that what you asked for? $5 million. Just as Candy was about to correct me, Ms. Peterson tugged on her sleeve and whispered something to her. Ms. Miller, $5 million is perfectly acceptable. After all the time she's wasted, I'd say even $10 million wouldn't be enough. Hearing this, Candy decided the teacher had a point. She was the mother of Ethan Vance's son. After all, Ethan was a man who could make millions in the blink of an eye. His status among men should be her status among women. A mere $5 million? She was worth every penny. With that thought, Candy crossed her arms, puffing up her chest like a proud peacock. You're right. I wanted $5 million, she declared. Since you know your place, I'll let this go. Now move your car so we can get to the classroom. We don't want to be late for the conference. A small smile played on my lips as I obediently moved my car to another spot. Then I took Lily's hand and we walked to her classroom. Her desk was in the very back row. We slipped in through the back door unnoticed. But when Candy walked in with her son, half the parents in the room immediately flocked to her side. Ms. Miller, is that dress from this year's couture collection? One gushed. Wow, I think I saw those earrings at a Sotheby's auction, another exclaimed. My goodness, Mr. Vance treats you so well. Just then, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It was the police department calling me back about the report I filed while I was transferring the money. I stepped outside to take the call. When I returned, I found that Leo had dumped an entire bucket of glue over Lily's head. Her hair was matted together, and the sticky substance was all over her face and clothes. A crowd of parents was standing around watching, but not one of them was doing anything to help. I was seeing red. I pushed through the onlookers and rushed to Lily's side. I pulled out some tissues to try and clean her face, my voice shaking with rage as I asked, "Who did this?" "I did," Leo admitted defiantly, sticking his chest out. "I just called her a jinx because her parents are dead, and she hit me. She deserved it. Deserved it, my ass." I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face, my other hand grabbing him by the throat. "You little monster. You're just as rotten as your homewrecker mother." Leo's face started to turn purple. The other parents rushed to pull me off him, but I was in a blind rage and wouldn't release my grip. Suddenly, a furious voice roared from the doorway. "Sonny Henderson, you let him go right now." Everyone turned to look. It was Ethan Vance, tall and imposing in a black business suit, flanked by bodyguards, striding purposefully toward me. He grabbed my wrist and forcefully pulled me away from the boy. "Sonny, can't you be the bigger person for once? He's just a child. Why are you making such a scene?" "The bigger person? Making a scene? Me? Why in the hell should I have to tolerate your illegitimate son?" Candy pulled her son, who now had red marks on his neck, over to Ethan. "Honey, look," she wailed. "Look what she did to our son's throat. You can't let her get away with this. You have to send her to jail." The other parents started whispering. "It's over for her. She actually attacked Mr. Vance's son. She's finished. What was she thinking? Does she have any idea who she's messing with?" Another one said, "People with no self-awareness are the worst. She's dragging that poor child down with her. Maybe if she gets on her knees and begs right now, he'll let her off easy." I know I would. I ignored them and looked at Ethan, a cold smile on my face. "So, you have a wife and a child?" Ethan looked completely unfazed. "So what if I do?" he said arrogantly. "A man in my position is expected to have a few women on the side. As long as I come home to my wife, what's the big deal?" The exchange left everyone in the room stunned into silence. That included Candy. She stared at Ethan in shock. Honey, who is she? Ethan answered casually. Just some desperate woman who's been obsessed with me for 8 years. The room erupted in mocking laughter. So she's just some delusional fangirl, someone sneered. Look at her. Does she really think she has a chance with Mr. Vance? If she doesn't own a mirror, she should go find a puddle and take a good look at her reflection. At this, Candy crossed her arms, her expression turning to one of pure contempt. And here I thought you were someone important, she scoffed. You had the nerve to call me a mistress when all you want is to be the next one in line. So pathetic. You're just a hypocrite. I ignored their insults. I found the whole situation bizarre. I held up a hand to stop Ethan. Wait a second. Did I hear you correctly? I've been obsessed with you for 8 years. Where on earth did you get that idea? Ethan gave me a look that said he knew everything. Instead of answering, he just patronized me. All right, I know you're just trying to save face, but you were the one who went too far today. Leo is my only son, and not even you are allowed to lay a hand on him, he said. Apologize to him now. After we're married, I might consider letting him call you mother. Leo looked horrified. I'll never call her mom. She tried to kill me. I hate her. With that, he grabbed a thick dictionary from a nearby desk and hurled it at me. I caught it easily and threw it right back. Leo wasn't as quick. The heavy book hit him squarely on the forehead, breaking the skin. A trickle of blood started to run down his face. Candy gasped in horror, pulling Leo into her arms. She turned to Ethan, her face a mask of fury. Ethan, he's bleeding. Ethan's eyes flashed with anger as he looked at his son. Sonny, you've gone too far. Apologize to Leo right now, or I swear I will call off this wedding. Unbelievable. As if marrying him was some great honor. Wasn't it his father who came to my family, practically begging for this engagement? His attitude made it seem like I was the one desperate to marry him. That's when I realized there had to be a massive misunderstanding. I took out my phone and called Ethan's father, Howard Vance. Mr. Vance, I said, I need you to come to the first grade classroom at the Crestwood Academy right away. Then I hung up. Ethan's face darkened. Calling my father won't help you, he snarled. I don't do everything he tells me to. I think you're just spoiled and used to getting your way. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson. He grabbed my wrist and raised his other hand to strike me. Just in the nick of time, Howard Vance, who had apparently already been on campus for an inspection, burst into the room. You idiot boy. What do you think you're doing? Are you trying to ruin us? Mr. Vance rushed over with several other Vance Group executives in tow. He grabbed Ethan fiercely by the collar and shoved him backward. You little brat. You think you can do whatever you want now, he roared. How dare you treat Sonny this way? I'll kill you. He grabbed a ruler from the teacher's desk and started hitting Ethan across the shoulders and back with it. I crossed my arms and watched this little father-son drama unfold with a cold expression. Meanwhile, I had someone call the school nurse to help Lily with the glue in her hair. Everyone stared as Ethan was being disciplined, exchanging confused glances and whispering amongst themselves. Who is this woman? Why is the chairman of the Vance Group defending her like this? Didn't you hear the son say he was supposed to marry her? Don't tell me she's the Henderson Dynamics heiress. Oh no, I was just talking trash about her. I'm doomed. She's going to hold a grudge. Candy's face went pale, but she still seemed to be in disbelief. She stepped in front of Ethan to shield him. Mr. Vance, please stop. It was this woman. She was attacking your grandson. She pulled Leo in front of the older man, pointing to the red marks on his neck. To her shock, Howard Vance looked at the boy with a completely blank expression. What grandson? He demanded. My son isn't married. Or I get grandson. Stop making baseless claims, or I'll sue you for slander. Mr. Vance, what are you talking about? Leo is clearly... Candy stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes widened in terror as she stared at me. You're really the Henderson Dynamics heiress. Before I could even open my mouth, Mr. Vance confirmed it for her. You blind fool, he spat. If she isn't, who is? You. A wave of fear washed over Candy. But then, a new thought occurred to her. Perhaps this was an opportunity. She hugged Leo and began to cry pitifully. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she sobbed. She can't stand Leo. She tried to kill him, and he's a Vance, he's your blood. Before she could finish, Howard Vance slapped her hard across the face. Shut your mouth, he yelled. He then turned to me, his expression instantly changing to one of fawning apology. "Sonny, please don't listen to her nonsense. She's just Ethan's secretary. She got pregnant, and Ethan felt sorry for her. So, Dad, why are you so afraid of her?" Ethan interrupted angrily. "You're the one who told me she's been obsessed with me for 8 years. You said her room was covered in my pictures, and that she was desperate to marry me. I only agreed to this marriage because I felt sorry for her. A man with my background and abilities would never willingly be a gold digger," he declared. "If she can't even accept my son, then this engagement is off." I cut him before his father could respond. "Fine by me. You're the one who said it. The engagement is officially canceled. Henderson Dynamics will hold a press conference later today to make the announcement." Howard Vance slapped his son across the face again. "You fool. Do you think you would have ever agreed to this marriage if I hadn't told you that?" he raged. "I paved this golden road for you, and you just spit on it. All you do is look for new ways to ruin yourself." Ethan stood up straight. "Dad, I don't need a woman to be successful. Stay out of my personal life." He stepped past his father and walked toward me. "The engagement may be off," he said, "but you still have to answer for what you did to my son." I stared at him coldly. "Oh, and what exactly do you want?" Ethan gritted his teeth. "I want you to get on your knees and apologize to my son." I pressed my lips together and said one word. "Never." A vicious look crossed Ethan's face, and he signaled to his bodyguards. The two men stepped forward and forced me to my knees, my legs hitting the hard floor with a thud. Then they grabbed my head and slammed it against the ground 3 times. Howard Vance tried to intervene, but Ethan blocked him. The older man was frantic. "You idiot boy, you've just made a terrible mistake," he cried out, wringing his hands. "What did I do in a past life to deserve a son as monumentally stupid as you?" he lamented. "It's over. The Vance family is finished." Just then, Mr. Collins, the head of legal for Henderson Dynamics, arrived with my personal security detail. The moment they entered, they swiftly subdued Ethan, his bodyguards, and the school security guard who had held me. Mr. Collins helped me to my feet. "Ms. Henderson, are you all right?" he asked with concern. Leaning on him for support, I got to my feet on shaky legs and fixed my gaze on Ethan, who was now restrained by my men. "We've settled your score," I said coldly. "Now it's time to settle mine." Ethan looked completely bewildered. "What are you talking about?" I pointed to where the nurse was still trying to clean the glue out of Lily's hair. "Your son did that to my niece. You tell me what score there is to settle." As I finished speaking, one of my bodyguards appeared at my side with a fresh bucket of glue. I took it and started walking slowly toward Leo. The boy was terrified and scrambled backward. Candy threw her arms around him, her face a mask of fear. "No, please, don't hurt my son." Though he was being held, Ethan's eyes were blazing with fury. "Sonny, if you lay one finger on my son, I swear." Before he could finish his threat, I changed course and dumped the entire bucket of glue over his head instead. The room filled with the sound of sharp, indrawn breaths. The parents and the teacher who had spoken against me earlier huddled together in a corner, terrified that they would be next on my list. Ethan was completely stunned. In his entire life, no one had ever treated him this way. The shock quickly gave way to pure rage. I ignored the fury burning in his eyes and stared directly at his glue-matted hair. "The sins of the son are the failures of the father," I said calmly. "As his father, you are obligated to take responsibility for his mistakes." Kenny stepped in front of Ethan to shield him. "This is going too far. If you want someone to blame, blame me." I raised my hand and slapped her twice hard. "Fina, you wanted my attention, you've got it. Did you really think you were getting away with this?" Candy clutched her now swelling cheek, staring at me in disbelief. "You hit me," she stammered. "You're just a bully throwing your weight around. I'll go to the press. I'll tell them everything and watch Henderson Dynamics stock price tank." I just raised an eyebrow. "That's a shame. You won't get the chance." She stared at me, shocked. "What do you mean?" Just then, 2 police officers entered the classroom. The officer in the lead spoke. "We're looking for Candy Miller. You've been accused of extortion for the sum of $5 million. Please come with us." Kenny looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Officer, there must be a mistake," she stammered. "I didn't extort anyone. She gave me that $5 million voluntarily." The officer turned to me. "Ma'am, did you give it to her voluntarily?" I shook my head and said calmly, "I don't know this woman." Why would I voluntarily give her $5 million? The realization dawned on Candy's face. She had walked right into my trap. She did give it to me, she insisted desperately. She stole my parking spot, and the $5 million was compensation. If you don't believe me, ask Miss Peterson. She saw the whole thing. She can vouch for me. At the mention of her name, Miss Peterson stepped forward meekly. She refused to meet Candy's eyes, staring at the floor as she spoke. I can testify that Ms. Miller demanded $500,000 from Ms. Henderson. The parking lot has security cameras. The footage will show everything. Candy couldn't believe Ms. Peterson had turned on her. She lunged forward, screaming, "You traitorous bitch! You're the one who told me to take the $5 million. You said I deserved it." Ms. Peterson flinched back like a frightened bird. "I never said that." Candy, red-faced with fury, tried to attack the teacher, but the officers held her back. I addressed the officer with a calm smile. "Officer, in a public parking lot, the spot belongs to whoever gets there first, correct? There's no such thing as stealing a spot, is there?" The officer shook his head. "Of course not." I continued, "So, if she vandalized my car, demanded $5 million, and had a security guard assault me over a non-existent claim, would that constitute property damage and extortion?" The officer nodded. "Yes, ma'am, it certainly would." With that, they escorted a struggling Candy out of the room. As they led her away, she kept screaming for Ethan to help her. "Honey, save me. I don't want to go to jail." But Ethan was powerless to help. He was in enough trouble himself without worrying about her. All he could do was glare at me with impotent fury. "Sonny, what is it you really want?" Just then, Mr. Collins took a phone call. After a brief conversation, he looked at me and nodded. A moment later, another legal team arrived, this one from the Vance Group. The lead lawyer rushed to Howard Vance's side. "Sir," he said, his voice urgent, "several of our major investment partners have just pulled their funding. The company's cash flow is frozen, and we're facing catastrophic debt. The banks are refusing to extend our credit line. If we can't raise $2 billion in the next month, the company will have to declare bankruptcy." Howard Vance swayed on his feet, his eyes rolled back in his head, and he collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital. I just smiled at Ethan. "You're so proud, Mr. Vance. So sure you can succeed without a woman's help," I said sweetly. "I look forward to seeing how you handle this little crisis at the Vance Group all by yourself." With that, I took Lily's hand and we left. It was only today that I realized just how sensitive and insecure my niece had become. It seemed she had internalized the blame for her parents' death. It was my fault. After my brother and his wife passed away, the full weight of Henderson dynamics fell on my shoulders. I worked nonstop to ease the burden on my grandfather. In doing so, I had completely neglected Lily's emotional well-being. I vowed to make that my priority from now on. Getting the glue out of her hair was a difficult process, but thankfully, with the resources of HD, we managed it, though it took a very long time. That night, I stayed with Lily as she fell asleep. In the quiet darkness, just as she was drifting off, she whispered, "Aunt Sunny, am I really a jinx?" My heart broke. I gently patted her back. "Of course not, sweetie," I whispered. "You are the kindest, most wonderful girl in the whole world. What happened to your mom and dad was not your fault. They were coming home for your birthday because they wanted to be with you. You were their most precious treasure, and all they ever wanted was for you to be happy." Lily didn't say anything, but she snuggled closer to me. I knew helping her heal would be a long journey, so I found a good child therapist for her and immediately transferred her to a new school. The corporation held a press conference on my behalf, officially announcing the end of my engagement to Ethan Vance. When my grandfather heard the full story, he called me into his study and slammed his fist on the desk in anger. "That old fox Howard Vance dared to try and scheme against my family," he fumed. "And that punk Ethan, with a son that old, had the audacity to use an old favor to try and marry my granddaughter. We will not let them get away with this." Even without my grandfather's blessing, I had no intention of letting the Vance family off the hook. I had just assumed that a man as arrogant as Ethan would have at least some competence. I was wrong. It only took 2 weeks for him to show up at my door, begging. He stood outside my house in a rumpled suit, looking completely defeated. He had stubble on his chin and deep, dark circles under his sunken eyes. He clearly hadn't slept in days. He stepped in front of me, his expression one of weary resignation. "Fine, you win," he said. "Let's get married. I'm willing to marry you now. All of this was just to make me submit to you, wasn't it? Well, congratulations. You succeeded." I looked at this handsome, well-dressed man and had a laugh. I was genuinely curious about how his mind worked. Had he been treated like a prince for so long that he actually believed the world revolved around him? If I recall correctly, I said, "Our engagement is off, and you're willing to marry me now? You should take a look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're even worthy." My words hit their mark, and his face flushed with anger. "What more do you want?" he demanded. "I'm already here, humbling myself before you. Can't you just leave my family alone? How about this? You invest $2 billion in the Vance Group, and I'll send Candy and my son away. You'll never have to see them again." I laughed out loud. Candy is facing felony extortion charges. "Are you asking me to get her out of jail?" I asked. $2 billion. For you? You wouldn't be worth that much if you were plated in solid gold. Your intentions are so obvious, it's insulting. Do you really think I'm that stupid? Get out of my sight before I have security remove you." Ethan stormed off in a rage. I thought he had more pride than that, but after leaving my house, he spent his nights schmoozing investors, trying to raise capital. I heard a wealthy widow in her 50s, who weighed over 300 pounds, took an interest in him. She told him she'd give him the money if he spent the night with her. Ethan felt deeply humiliated, but he was desperate, so he agreed. Unfortunately for him, the woman didn't keep her promise. After she got what she wanted, she refused to pay up. "You were hardly worth the effort," the woman told him, lighting a cigarette. "You think your performance was good enough for me to risk offending Henderson Dynamics? Please, I've had better from paid escorts." The experience broke Ethan completely. Howard Vance's health failed. The Vance Group went bankrupt, and Ethan fell into a deep depression from which he never recovered. For vandalism and felony extortion, given the large sum of money involved, Candy Miller was ordered to pay me $1 million in damages and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The Crestwood Academy was investigated and shut down by the Board of Education after scandals emerged about teachers discriminating against students based on wealth and status. Ms. Peterson was blacklisted from the teaching profession, and no school would hire her again. Leo Vance, stripped of his privileged life, continued to act like a bully at his new school. He got into a fight and blinded another student in one eye. The child's parents sued for $1 million. Ethan went to the school to deal with the situation, got into a physical altercation with the other boy's father, and in the end, had to admit he couldn't even afford the settlement. His own son, Leo, called him a broke loser, and only then did Ethan finally realize what a failure he had been as a father. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I was taking advantage of the summer break to take Lily, who was finally beginning to heal from her trauma, on a vacation to Switzerland. I wanted to show her that she shouldn't be defined by her past. There was a whole world of beautiful things waiting for her to discover.